Well, as we've been hearing, the World Energy Watchdog is warning that Europe only has 6 weeks of jet fuel remaining because of the conflict in the Middle East. It comes after EasyJet said soaring prices had cost it £25 million, and Dutch carrier KLM cancelled 160 flights in the coming weeks. Joining me now to talk about this is Bryan Terry from the Alton Aviation Consultancy. He's the former Director of Industry Fuel Services at the International Air Transport Association. So you know what you're talking about, Bryan. The big question a lot of people will be having right now as the sun starts to shine is, how is this going to affect my summer holidays?
Well, first, thank you for having me, Matt. Pleasure to be with you. As of now, I think people have a right to be concerned, but I wouldn't be overly concerned. Um, at best of times, the airline jet fuel supply chain is extremely fragile. It's one of the modern marvels of logistics. The industry supplies on-spec, on-time fuel just in time to more than 1,600 airports worldwide every day. That's normal process. So when we talk about running out of fuel in 6 weeks, that's kind of normal. If the supply doesn't come in, there's not the storage facilities for jet fuel to go beyond that. However, I think that in the situation right now, for a majority of the flights, I think there are reasons to feel safe about those, especially from the UK. The UK is in better position than most countries and airports in the region. I think the airports that are in most concern are in those holiday destinations around the Mediterranean, where there are smaller airports, smaller storage facilities, less alternatives. Those are the ones that are more exposed to potential cancellations or rationing of fuel and flights.
So that's the question, Bryan. We might be well stocked here, comparatively speaking, but it's the flight back from that Greek island or that remote part of Europe for your summer holiday that could be in trouble.
That's exactly right. That's where the pause comes from. It's certainly something that we can't dismiss. And I think the industry is already planning for those contingencies and making alternative arrangements, whether that is rationing flights, canceling flights, and making alternative arrangements well in advance. However, I think as of right now, we're hearing cancellations. You mentioned the ones announced by KLM. SAS has made announcements. I think those will come, but I think those airlines are taking those on a proactive basis to minimize the disruptions and impacts to passengers.
Uh, Early on in the war, there was a phrase bandied around when it came to people filling up their cars, and that was price gouging. Is there a risk that price gouging could happen with people buying air tickets?
I really don't think so. I think you can see what we saw at the outset of the conflict was what I would call surge pricing, similar to what you would get with a ride-sharing service when there's peak demand and limited supply. That's what was driving the prices up at the outset. We've seen those moderate since then. They are still elevated compared to this time last year, but that's due to the airlines trying to recapture the added price of fuel. So the prices are still elevated, but I don't think we'll see the same level of surge pricing that we saw before.
Yeah. Now, is this all because that part of the world is particularly important to kerosene? Of course, oil and gas and liquefied natural gas comes from there as well. But just how important is it when it comes to the supply of aviation fuel?
It's critically important. Let's take UK as an example. Approximately 40% of UK's jet fuel supply comes from either Kuwait or Saudi Arabia, and it comes in multiple forms, but a lot more of that fuel is now actually refined in the Gulf and received in the UK in a refined state. One of the things that's happened over the past 20 years is we've seen the UK decommission a number of refineries that could convert crude into jet. So that does leave the UK a little bit more exposed from an infrastructure capability to provide alternative sources. But nonetheless, again, I think there are alternative supplies of crude and alternative sources for refined fuel to get into the UK. As you mentioned, the bigger concern is on those outstations where there's more vulnerability.
Yeah. We've heard, Bryan, in the last hour from Donald Trump urging Britain to buy more American energy, whatever that happens to be. Could America supply aviation fuel? Would they want to do that?
I think they would. Again, the issues you're dealing with there are logistics. It takes time to ship from North America to the UK. Also, we talked about refining. So you would have to receive refined product because there's not the infrastructure to take raw crude into the UK and refine it for jet. So those are the things that I think the industry over years has demonstrated its resiliency, and those alternative solutions I think could be stood up if necessary.
Listen, Bryan, I know we're talking about this from a sort of geopolitical perspective, an industry one, but I'm going to put a consumer hat on right now. If I was booking my summer holiday for me and the kids and thinking of going to a part of Europe, would you just go ahead and book it right now? Would you wait? Would you worry that the price might go up in the meantime? Asking for a friend, of course.
Sure. Um, if I really wanted to make that trip, I would. I would also spend a little bit more money. I would buy myself some flexibility. So instead of taking a non-refundable fare, get one that's either refundable or changeable. One of the issues we've seen in past crises, especially when it comes to leisure travel, is people often plan trips once a year, and the airlines will offer you a credit if you can't make that flight. Well, that credit doesn't have much value if you've lost that vacation or holiday window. So spend a little bit more on travel insurance or buy a higher grade ticket that provides you with more flexibility and helps you sleep better at night.
Yeah, maybe some more leg room while you're on the flight as well.
Absolutely.
Bryan, I really appreciate the advice. Thanks for joining us this evening on the UK Tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.